if I were an airbender, I could just go whoosh. But it's actually pretty amazing. All right. Today's service is a little bit different structurally. I'm offering you a reflective sermon in 5 chapters with a prologue. At the beginning of each section, I invite Anne to come forward and offer a reading, and scattered throughout this service, the sermon, Bill will offer a chant. But we begin now with the prologue.
In her piece entitled Meditations on the Four Directions, Reverend Julia Hamilton writes this: "In the pagan tradition, which is grounded in a respect and reverence for the natural world, calling upon the four directions is the usual way to begin any ceremony. Each direction is associated with an element of the natural world and represents some part of our human nature as well. The directions are not seen as separate and isolated, but rather as part of the interdependent system that makes up the world."
When I title my sermon, The Elements of Style, I am not referring to the classic writing style guide by Strunk and White. I am talking about the elements of the earth: air, fire, water, earth, and spirit. The old taxonomy of 4 or 5 elements is still informative and can serve to guide our spiritual growth. They can be seen as qualities of being which we can exemplify, traits of our personality, of our living. My title, Elements of Style, is meant to evoke how these 4 elements can be seen as styles of being. Historically, the concept of 4 and sometimes 5 elements arises from, among other places, ancient Greek philosophers. The concept remained prevalent in Europe up through the Middle Ages and into the Renaissance. Interestingly, there are similar concepts in ancient India and Japan as well. So this is not isolated to the Western worldview. The conversation I'm offering is not an attempt to explain the natural world, as they were trying to do in those ancient times. Modern chemistry offers far more than 4 or 5 basic elements to understand the natural world. The periodic table of elements is more accurate and more helpful in that endeavor. I, on the other hand, am looking inward. Perhaps a better parallel to our modern understanding is to link the 4 elements, air, fire, water, and earth, to what we know about the states of matter: solid, liquid, gas, and plasma. Not only is this a fair parallel to see earth as akin to solid, water to liquid, air to gas, and fire to plasma, it's also a fair parallel in that it helps us shift from thinking of these 4 elements as things to thinking of them as styles of being. It's not that you are fire, but that you can be like fire. This concludes the prologue, and we now move into the body of the sermon. Chapter 1, Air.
The earth, the air, the fire, the water, return. The earth, the air, the fire, the water, returns. The earth, the air, the fire, the water, returns. The earth, the air, the fire, the water, returns.
We begin in the east, toward the rising sun. Air and breath give us life. It is the direction of inspiration, the word that literally means to take in air. The east is associated with the mind, with knowledge and learning and intellectual curiosity. Turning toward the east, we look for a fresh start, an invigorating breath, a new idea. when you are feeling stuck in a rut, beholden to a routine, or if the wind has gone out of your sails, look eastward.
I invite you to call to mind birds in flight. This is the image many associate with this element. Indeed, Starhawk suggested specifically a crow. In part because of their intelligence, air is the element of inspiration and vision and curiosity. Such virtues are among our central values as a faith tradition, yes? Air is often a step removed from the fray. It's a realm of calm observation and focus. You may want to approach this from a personal perspective, considering how you have the qualities of air in your life. But I wonder if you can think of this communally. Does our congregation have enough air? Or maybe you'll call to mind other communities or circles in your life. What does that look like for a group to have enough air? The element of air strongly is associated with the mind. It's about new ideas, fresh planning that help us live our vision. Working from the perspective of air is about taking the long view, about seeing the whole forest, the whole system, instead of the individual trees, as they say. Are you a visionary? Do you see the way things fit? Do you imagine solutions to possible problems? The details are elsewhere in this wheel. Air is the big picture work. Air is about observing and understanding what's going on. Maybe a step back, just a pace to take it all in. Air is the quality of our lives by which we can focus on remaining true to our primary purposes and goals, and then making a plan to move forward. Be like air. Observe, breathe, focus, decide. Chapter 2, Fire.
The earth, the air, the fire, the water returns, 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 returns. The earth, the air, the fire, the water returns, 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 returns. The earth, the air, the fire, the water returns, 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 returns. The earth, the air, the fire, the water returns, 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 returns. The earth, the air, the fire, the water returns, 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 returns.
We move around the wheel to the south. The element of the south is fire. Fire is a transformative force. It is heat and light and powerful change. In the northern hemisphere, it makes sense that we associate the south toward the equator with the warmth of the sun and the heat of the flame. When our internal weather gets cold, turning south is a metaphor for turning toward warmth and daylight, seeking out the changes that will warm us up, get our blood moving, call us out of our winters, out of hibernation, into action.
Every Sunday morning, and at many gatherings for classes and meetings, we Unitarian Universalists light a chalice. We are regularly reminded of the light of truth, the warmth of compassion, the fire of commitment. Call to mind that dancing flame in our chalice. Or perhaps to visualize an animal, as we had done in air with the crow, imagine the mythos around the phoenix, the bird that burns up and is then reborn. Fire is the element of change and action and transformation. Fire is sometimes cast as a dangerous force, even destructive. I mean, all of the elements can be destructive, but fire, by its nature, consumes things. It feeds on what is and turns it to ash. But as an element in our internal lives, it's more accurate to think of it as a force for change. It is energy and excitement, passion for action. It's not negative. It is perhaps fair to say that it is a force that burns away what has been, but in so doing it allows something new to arise, transformation. Is there enough fire in our congregation? I imagine there are some individuals in our lives whom we see as fiery personalities. Some of you may be those people. But my question is less about individuals and more about the community. We all have the capacity to be like fire. Is there enough fire in our community? An obvious way this would show up is in our justice work. I have said several times lately that our justice work has flattened during this pandemic, and we are not working as much as we had been, but we are stoking that fire back into the strong blaze that we are used to seeing among us. But there are other ways we can talk about the fire aspect of our congregation. This quadrant, this element of fire, is about our energy. Where is our energy at this time? What are we excited about? As we keep pivoting and shifting with our gathering policy and our online presence and hosting in-person activities, we are building up our fires. We are building up our energy. Can you feel that happening? The fires of our congregation need tending in this time, just as the fires of your personal life have needed tending through the pandemic. But these fires are still here. Be like fire. Burn, tame, adapt, ignite. Chapter 3, Water.
The earth, the air, the fire, the water returns, 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 returns. The earth, the air, the fire, the water returns, 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 returns. The earth, the air, the fire, the water returns, 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 returns. The earth, the air, the fire, the water returns, 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 returns. The earth, the air, the fire, the water returns, 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 returns.
Continuing around the circle, we arrive in the west. The element of the west is water. In the west, we are drawn into the experience of our emotions. It is a direction that calls us to self-reflection and self-understanding. Our emotions move in us like water, flowing through our lives, sometimes calm and sometimes turbulent, but always flowing. If you are seeking to get in touch with your inner life, with your emotions, turn toward the west.
For an animal to associate with this aspect, Starhawk suggests the image of a snake to embody this element. Water is about the undercurrents, the unspoken understandings at play in our lives. The snake archetype shows up in many places, religiously and culturally. Some of those still connect to the way Starhawk is talking about, and some do not. Water is the element of feelings, of reflection, and healing. Feelings are powerful and often ignored or undervalued in our culture. There's a patronizing way some have of dismissing the feelings of others, and usually their own feelings as well. It's not healthy or helpful to do that. Like a snake, it may circle back and bite you when you least expect it. But even though our feelings may be dismissed or undervalued, they are very important. Maya Angelou once said, "I've learned that people will forget what you said. People will forget what you did. People will never forget how you made them feel." Taking the time to reflect on this will lead us to greater wholeness. Is there enough water in our congregation? When you think about the places of good water in your life, I do hope this congregation is one such place for you. We talk a lot about covenant here. We work at being clear with our communication and addressing conflict when it arises. My sermons often carry some emotionally honest elements. And have I mentioned the value of being broken lately? All of this is caught up in the element of water. As we work to build up our fires, it is valuable to stay balanced with our water as well. Be like water. Cry, cleanse, flow. Let go. Chapter 4, Earth.
The earth, the air, the fire, the water returns, 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 returns. The earth, the air, the fire, the water returns, 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 returns. The earth, the air, the fire, the water returns, 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 returns. The earth, the air, the fire, the water returns, 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 returns. The earth, the air, the fire, the water returns, 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 returns.
We move now to the north. The element of the north is earth. There is stability here, the ground of our being. The north represents the place that holds us, that allows us time and space to heal and grow, to feel nurtured and respected. The north calls to you if you are seeking balance, the deep wisdom that lives in your bones, a place of rest and recovery.
For an image of earth, Starhawk named this element for the dragon. She named it for a guardian of our greatest treasure, a protector of what is most important. Dragons in myth tend to be ancient and wise as well. Earth is the element of strength, of protection, of wisdom. The aspect of earth in your life is about being grounded and practical and realistic. Earth is about protecting and conserving the resources and the energy. Earth holds the boundaries and reminds us of our limits. Earth offers the details that counter the lofty goals of the element of air. While air builds castles in the clouds, earth tethers those dreams into a living reality. Is there enough earth in our congregation? Is there enough earth in your life? It sometimes feels to me like a little more earth is the antidote to so much of what is off in my life, in our congregation, in the world around us. It's about being grounded. Yes, the aspect of earth is focused on details, resources and limitations, to be sure, but it also asks important questions. Is our work sustainable? Can we keep doing this? How can we better nurture each other so that we can keep doing this? What concrete skills and resources do we have to offer? How can we build? How can we do better for everyone involved so that we can keep doing this? Be like earth. Ground. Give. Build. Heal. Chapter 5, Spirit.
The earth, the air, the fire, the water, and spirit, return, return, return. The earth, the air, the fire, the water, and spirit, return, return, return. The earth, the air, the fire, the water, and spirit, return, return, return. The earth, the air, the fire, the water, and spirit, return, return, return. The earth, the air, the fire, the water, and spirit, return, return, return.
We have moved through these four directions, given them shape and meaning. East, air, breath, and inspiration. South, fire, transformation, and action. West, water, feeling, and reflection. North, earth, balance, and wisdom.
Adding a fifth element is not a wild new idea. Aristotle suggested it was ether, which he defined as whatever the heavenly stars are made of, because surely they are not made of earth or fire or water or air. The Vedas from India also talk about a fifth element, which is translated closest as to void. I'm evoking a fifth along the lines of how modern neo-pagans speak of it, spirit. Spirit is the element of wholeness and integration. It's about the connections and interconnections and the in-betweens of our living. It's the threads that bind us. It's the common heart among us. The classic four elements became associated with the four cardinal directions. Spirit is associated with right here, center. Is there enough spirit in our congregation? This is a question of balance. We might as well ask if each of the other elements are present and thriving, but this question of the balance found in spirit, it's akin to the idea of the whole being more than the sum of the parts. It's a question of connection. Are you connected? Are we connected? Are we listening to each other? How will you pour your gifts into this community of earth or air, fire or water? Where are your gifts? Was there one element, or maybe two, that you felt drawn to as I described them? What will you bring forth? And how is it with our spirit? The element of spirit is about connection. I know I have felt isolated and fragmented since the onset of this pandemic, but in truth, we've long lived in a fragmenting and disconnecting society. A deep part of our work as a congregation has always been to counter that destructive trend around and within us. Connect. Here in spirit. We work to honor our differences, to strengthen our bonds, and to nourish our common heart. Now more than ever, this is our work as a faith. To honor our differences, to strengthen our bonds, to nourish our common heart. Be like spirit. Connect. Listen. Know. Be still. In a world without end. May it be so.
The earth, the air, the fire, the water, return, 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 return. The earth, the air, the fire, the water, return, 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 return. The earth, the air, the fire, the water, returns, 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 return. The earth, the air, the fire, the water, returns, 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 returns. The earth, the air, the
extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
May the firmness of the earth be yours. May the flow of the water be yours. May the freedom of the air be yours. May the fierceness of the fire be yours. May all the gifts of this life, the below and the above, be with you now and remain with you always. Go in peace.